Before we get into this, I want to show you that I am using the $20 per month paid version of ChatGPT, and I'm also using the thinking setting so that it thinks longer, has better answers, and has fewer errors. So I have uploaded a list of 5 funds that are in a client's 401k. And what we're going to try and do is have ChatGPT figure out what these funds are and how they're allocated, and then suggest an index fund that would be comparable that this client could use in their rollover IRA instead of these expensive funds. Here's what I've written. Analyze the mutual fund abbreviated names on the image attached. I want you to determine with a high probability what the name of each of these funds is. I also want you to determine with a high probability what the asset allocation within each fund is. For the asset allocation, use the Morningstar asset classes. ChatGPT has looked up the abbreviations and come back with results. The first one was Arrow Street Global Equity. And if you look up Arrow Street on Morningstar, it comes back with some funds that are all foreign securities. And there is no U.S. security listed on Morningstar by Arrow Street. So without ChatGPT, it would be difficult to figure out what this fund is. ChatGPT thinks it's a quantitatively managed global all-country equity portfolio, which means it holds U.S., international, and emerging market equities. The next fund was abbreviated RTGQGINTLEQCITD. Obviously, you're not going to easily guess what that is. ChatGPT thinks it's the GQG Partners International Equity, CIT. A CIT is like a mutual fund, but it's a trust. It's basically only in 401ks. And this fund, according to ChatGPT, is an actively managed foreign large cap portfolio with developed markets and emerging markets. Third was the LS Core Plus Bond. Core Plus Bond funds are aggregate bond funds with an extra high yield sleeve. The TRP Stable Value Fund, basically that's a cash fund. Next on the list was a PIM INFL RESP MAIS. Again, another abbreviation that would be hard to figure out. It's a PIMCO Inflation Response Multi-Asset Fund. Multi-asset funds own more than just stocks and bonds. This one owns commodities and real estate in addition. So now that we know what the funds are, next I'm asking ChatGPT to come back with some low-cost index fund alternatives. And 33 seconds later, it's come back with some what it's calling index twins. The first one up was that Arrow Street Global Equity Fund. ChatGPT suggests substituting Vanguard Total World Stock ETF, symbol VT, instead of that Arrow Street fund. Also, it's come back without being asked, which is really cool. It's come back with other alternatives, the iShares ACWI ETF, and a 2-fund alternative of ITOT plus some IXUS. Second on the list that we are looking for alternatives to is that GQG Partners International Equity Fund. ChatGPT suggests using the Vanguard Total International Stock ETF, symbol VXUS. It's also suggested as an alternative a couple of other combinations of developed markets and emerging market funds. For the Loomis Sales Core Plus Bond Fund, it's suggesting replacing about 80% with BND or AGG, and then adding 10% of USHY, a high yield fund, and 10% of VWOB, which is the Vanguard Emerging Market Government Bond Fund. For the Stable Value Fund, which is essentially like cash, it's suggesting some very short-term U.S. Treasury funds like SGOV, the iShares 0 to 3 month U.S. Treasury ETF, or BIL. Those are good alternatives. Next is the PIMCO Inflation Response Multi-Asset Fund. And this time it's run into some problems because there's no such thing as one single index fund that could replace a fund that was a combination of different assets, including commodities and real estate. So it suggested these 5 funds listed on the screen. I'm going to suggest, how about this other ETF that I have made a video about in the past, ALLW. We'll see what ChatGPT says for that idea. And the short answer is not a like-for-like replacement. So ChatGPT shut me down on that one. It aims to balance risk across growth and inflation regimes. It does not focus primarily on inflation hedging. ChatGPT thinks this is not the best swap and a like-for-like switch. Instead, it's gone ahead and suggested a different fund, the RLY ETF. So that's pretty cool that it can go that extra step and suggest on its own another alternative fund, even though I didn't ask it to. So that's really cool. So I think you can see from this that ChatGPT is a really good source for doing investment research. If you have any questions, please leave a comment down below, and please consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you next time.